Over 14 years, Mick McCormack built a pipeline business at APA into a $24 billion giant with a gas grid across Australia. For the last year, he's been on gardening leave, but now he's popped up on the board of the ambitious young Northern Territory producer Central Petroleum, and he's got a big plan for our economic recovery.
Nice to be back, Ticky. I've had 12 months sort of enforced leave, so back in the game. Look, what attracted me to Central was that I did want to do at least one board job in the energy sector, and Central Petroleum, whilst it's only a small company, has got a couple of very attractive growth prospects. And as you know, I'd rather be helping to grow a company than just sitting around a board table wondering what's going on. So Central covered all those bases, so very pleased to be invited to join the board.
So Central Petroleum is the largest gas player in the Northern Territory. It's also been talked about over the years as having assets which are effectively stranded. Can you explain to us what the gas market is at the moment, where the gas is and where it's needed and what the challenge is?
Well, I think you used the word stranded. I think up until the Northern Gas Pipeline was commissioned in January 19, that's the pipeline from Katherine across to Mount Isa. Central's assets probably were somewhat stranded because you only had the domestic market vis-a-vis Darwin to take that gas. With the commissioning of the Northern Gas Pipeline, all of a sudden that gas has been able to get into the East Coast. So from here on in, whilst that path to market, that channel still exists, Central have a very exciting project, albeit in MOU stage, but all projects start at that stage, and that's to work with Australian Gas Infrastructure Group to construct a pipeline from, let's call it Alice Springs to Moomba, and that'll cut at least 1,000 kilometres off the current physical path to market via the Northern Gas Pipeline and the APA East Coast grid.
Right, because as I understand at the moment, the gas in, where Central has it, sort of near Alice Springs, has to go all the way up to Tennant Creek or Katherine, then turn right and go over to Mount Isa, then come back down again to the top right-hand corner of South Australia, which is Moomba, which is the hub. Now, if you were able to build a 1,000-kilometre pipeline directly from the resource down to Moomba, how much cheaper do you think that transport cost would be?
Well, it's an interesting question. Let's just say it'll be substantially cheaper. It would have to be, probably order of at least $1.50 to $2. However, as you well know, the main driver of pipeline tariffs is the size of the pipeline and the quantity of gas delivered. So the bigger the pipeline, the more gas delivered, the unit cost goes down. And that's one of the things, on a personal note, that I've been pumping for. If there's talk of government subsidising one way or another the gas supply chain, my view is to subsidise the infrastructure, build on that project that's out there and make it a truly nation-building project, and not only that, but have it extend all the way across the Northwest Shelf.
Right. Well, look, you've been calling for the government to support these major gas pipeline infrastructure projects now. So there's one you're talking about which goes from the west, which is a transcontinental one. Now that is a massive, $5 to $6 billion investment. In the past, I don't think you've been very supportive of this when you ran APA. Why the change of heart?
Look, as they say, Ticky, if the facts change, I'll change my opinion. And I don't know, it was 3 or 4 years ago, I was part of a study for the then Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull to look at the economics of a pipeline from, I'll call it Northwest Shelf to Moomba. It's eminently doable, but at the time, yes, it wasn't economic on its own merits. However, what's changed? I picked up the papers after years out of the sector, and if I'm reading that the government is seriously considering, massive subsidy or assistance into the gas supply chain, I would much rather the government throw $5 billion at building the link from Northwest Shelf to Moomba and solve the East Coast gas crisis once and for all. And yes, it is a subsidy, but on the face of it, it's thousands of jobs, local jobs to construct it. Most of the value is the local value add. And then whatever it ultimately costs the government could build it. I mean, I'd build it for nothing for them. Get it done. And after 5 or 10 years, charge a nominal tariff. I'm just putting this out there for people to throw sticks at. Charge $2 all the way through, $1 from Alice Springs, operate it for 5 years, 10 years, sell it out to the private sector. Whatever the government doesn't get back, the Australian economy will reap many, many times in excess of any loss by virtue of the gas coming into the East Coast for manufacturing and also energy supply. If the government is going to throw a big chunk of money at the gas supply chain on the East Coast, let's throw it at nation-building infrastructure that will actually help rural and regional Australia, rather than doing something like, let's just write a cheque for $5 billion to underwrite a gas supply, particularly on the East Coast. With the East Coast producers, because all you do is entrench exactly the same issue. The
other area that you're looking at maybe some support from government is this extraordinary shale gas deposit in the Northern Territory, Beetaloo. Now, do you think that is more or less likely to be attractive to the government? Because that's really a 10-year project, isn't it?
Well, it is. But where there's a will, there's a way. I've been stunned by our colleagues here at Central Petroleum, the numbers, the reserves that are potentially up there. But the issue is there hasn't been all that much incentive, because the infrastructure to get it to market, particularly in the southeast part of the country, has just proven problematic. And I keep going back to the point that if large-scale infrastructure was in place, you're taking away the disincentive that comes about because of the geographical isolation of some of these reserves.
Now, of course, a lot of people who are familiar with you and indeed Central Petroleum will remember, Mick, Richard Cotty running Central Petroleum and your ding-dong with him over APA, and Richard Cotty accusing APA of really, abusing its monopolistic position and firing up the regulator. Now the shoe's on the other foot and you're at Central. Do you have any sympathy for that view?
I was wondering how long it'd take you to bring that up on national TV, Ticky. Look, it's interesting. Richard did a good job for Central. I'll just make one point about pipeline tariffs. The tariff on the Northern Gas Pipeline, together with the APA tariffs, make it uncompetitive for Central to take its gas to say, Brisbane. The tariff's been offered in that Northern Gas Pipeline bidding process that I offered would have had Central's gas competitive right now. So, yes, there's a new pipeline being built, but no, in my view, it was built by the wrong company.
Mick, this is your one board seat so far, and you're obviously taking the bull by the horns here. Is there a second board seat or a third board seat, and would it be within the gas sector as well?
Look, Ticky, I'm probably pretty happy. I've got this one. There's another one in the wind there, and that's probably, it's not in the energy sector. When I gave up full-time work, I spent my whole life basically in one industry, in one company, and I didn't want to I didn't give up full-time work to work full-time. So I'm very comfortable in really focusing on a couple of businesses that are interesting. They've got some growth prospects, they've got some challenges, and helping those companies execute a growth strategy. My legacy is about growth, not sitting around a board table doing compliance.
Yeah, Mick McCormack.
Even though compliance is very important, I might add.
You got it in there. I look forward to all that blue sky and growth, Mick McCormack. Thanks. Good to talk to you as always.
Thank you, Ticky.